Now, because of the lack of fathers being in key positions, you got to ask a mutated question. Like, what would you say in a mutated sense? It all goes to that core, man. Fuck music, fuck sports, fuck society, fuck all that bullshit. Who brought you in this world and who schooled you on the world? Everything else is bullshit. Now we can get into like, okay, this person couldn't be a father because of these systematic institutional things that came on. The prison industrial complex increased from 100,000 black men to well over 1 million, 100,000 black men in 1970, I should say, to over 1 million in 2016. It's like, what the fuck, man? I mean, I'm not a social structurist, I'm not an economist. Yes, I know every little bit of these things because I'm an adult trying to be aware of all the bullshit that's flying at us. But really the core of it is like, you got to school your own. You have to get knowledge of yourself from your own. Racism is rampant and runs deep because nobody seems to know what it is. And at the core of it is like when you treat somebody different based on their background or their visual characteristics based more than their character. That's what Dr. King was trying to get done. It's like, you want to treat people from the insides, not the outsides. This is not taught in the community anymore. Black people, we were broke, but not broken. Today, somebody might show you something, but we broken as a motherfucker. We broke up like fuck. This is the conversation where you could say fuck hip hop because hip hop comes out of us as a together people. Then it becomes what it is for us to engage ourselves in. But if we are broken people, hip hop sometimes can fix us with the united aspect of the world. It won't fix us amongst ourselves unless we all figure out how to fix ourselves, and it gets fixed by default.
To ask in America, do we all have the same opportunities, is a trick question. Because the answer is yes. But then if you ask, do we all have the same resources for the opportunities that we all have? The answer is no, right? So, you know, you hit it right on the head when you say a school like Jones Commercial, which is downtown, mayor's always giving tens of millions of dollars to this school, compared to a school like CVS, Chicago Vocational High School, where they're constantly cutting all the vocations out of the school. Well, you got the same opportunity to go to school. You got the same opportunity to graduate. You have the same opportunity to go to college. However, the resources. You don't have the same library. You don't have the same quality of teachers. Although America can say everyone has the same opportunities, the lack of resources, the lack of information puts certain people at a severe disadvantage. So the opportunities are available for everyone. And now we're seeing another type of thing happen in America where it isn't as much about black and white as it is becoming about class and economic status. So in many of our communities around the country, on a macro level, if you want to look, gentrification used to be defined or looked at from communities of color as white people moving black people out of their neighborhood. Now gentrification is people of means moving poor people out of their neighborhood. Whether they white or black, Bronzeville's still black. Hyde Park still has the same percentage of black people. It's just all the poor people are getting pushed out. It's interesting because in America, that's a conversation that the upper middle class and the wealthy don't want to have. So presidential candidates, everybody talks about the middle class, the working class, but no one wants to have a serious conversation about the poor because the poor aren't even in a conversation. And we even, what we do to the poor, what you see is, let's talk about rappers. Many rappers, not all, but a lot of rappers come from poor backgrounds. So what do you hear them say when they start making it up the ladder? Man, I don't believe in politics, because it never worked for them. They were never talked to, they were never addressed. So of course they don't believe in the process. But guess what? The people that sign up to those lucrative deals believe in the process, because the people who own those record labels are those poor rappers, those, Young Thugs and Meek Mills and all these people that came up from nothing. the people who sign them, who signs their checks, definitely contributed to somebody's political campaign. And so poor people are often tricked by the emotions of poverty, the resentment of poverty, and I made it without politics, or so I think. I made it without this or without that. And so that or this must not matter. But I think maturity is to learn the things that you never knew mattered just may have always mattered the most. I believe politics matters. I believe that voting matters. I believe that a strong family, organized communities mean something and can help us do better. The cavalry is not coming. Nobody's coming to save you. Black people, like Dr. Ben Carson, are feigning blackness in the name of white supremacy. So it's kind of like somebody could say, how could I be racist? I heard this about the South Carolina cop that threw the young girl across the classroom. The sheriff, his boss, said, I don't know how he could be racist. He has a black girlfriend. We have to stop letting multiculturalism fool us. You can be white supremacist, racist, and multicultural. You can be a gentrifier and be black. We have to stop in this country persecuting, putting down, throwing away poor people. And poor people have to stop giving up on themselves just because they haven't ever known anything up to a certain point. Your past doesn't determine your future. And poor people have a responsibility, as rich people have a responsibility, as middle class people have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to make our country a better place and to make our blocks and our system and our children and our families better. Everybody is responsible.
The statistics for black folks in the United States, and it's based on per 100,000 people. It's way less violence today than there was in the 50s and in the 60s. And it shot up in the 70s and went back down. So it's way less violence than it was in the 70s. So this discussion is part of this, I believe, is part of this, shell game where they're making us look at the wrong thing. Because unless we're saying that the violence moved all to Chicago, then I would wonder, I would probably bet that the violence is similar, in black communities as far as the relationship of it to the past. Question is, where does this discussion lead us? This discussion leads us to something that says, to militarize communities of color and to also not look at what is actually causing violence. A lot of the racist stereotypes about black folks are put out by a lot of these nonprofits that should know better, but they're not, their mission statement doesn't allow them to address the real issues. White kids sell dope too. White kids have all these things going on in their whole life, but we don't look at that sort of thing. The truth is, it's from a similar perspective that there's violence going on in those communities because they're hustling to survive as well. And that's the secret that, when they put that out there, what does that say to the rest of the white working class? Maybe we don't have it so good. I remember I used to have friends that parents were making $20,000 a year, and this is in the Bay Area, expensive place to live, and they're like, yeah, we're middle class. Because they teach us that whole idea of middle class is bullshit in the first place, But everybody thinks that they're not in poverty because they think of this picture of poverty as sleeping on a dirt floor and, this and that, but that's one picture of poverty for some parts of the world. There's violence going on all over the place. And I'll put it like this. I've toured around the world, and there's some truths that hold still. No matter where you are in the world, on a Friday night, people are calling each other asking what's going on tonight. No matter where you are in the world, you know, you turn on some good music, people are gonna bob their head and dance. No matter where you are in the world, people need to eat. And if they don't have a job, they're going to hustle and do whatever they have to do to get some money in. The truth is, most violence is related to something directly economic, right? It's it's somebody getting mugged, somebody, that sort of thing. A dope deal gone wrong or something, even like kidnappings or whatever. It's usually related to something that has to do with that. Then there's other things that come from the culture that come out of that. And that exists in all communities as well.
Some of these people that are really just ignorant to the culture and the music and all, it's not some people don't want to be enlightened. Some people don't care to be enlightened. They want to keep that ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. I can almost understand that, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these people have a certain level of stubbornness that you almost can't erase. They pretty much got to die with it. I'm not saying that these people need to die, but that's the only way that certain levels of racism and certain levels of ignorance goes away at certain people. It's just when these people die. Some of these people are so ingrained and stuck into their train of thought and how they feel and what they think that there is no re-education for them. You know what I'm saying? There is no watershed moment where they realize they've been looking at the world the wrong way for so long. That kind of ignorance really just, as far as the world is concerned, these people just have to die and move on. And then hopefully the new people that are born with a different level of enlightenment and understanding. So keep your fingers crossed. I don't think that anything is fair in this country as far as the way the government runs the country, and that's concerned. You can look around and see that America's middle class is dying away. You know what I'm saying? That's the only balance they want it to be, just rich people and poor people. They don't want people in the middle that don't need them. You know what I'm saying? Rich people don't like people that aren't rich simply because they don't need their help or their money. They resent that. They resent the independent, which is what the middle class man in America is a person that's able to have his own say. A poor person can't have a say. In America, we don't allow that. We think that's jaded, and we think that comes from an uneducated place. Poor doesn't not automatically mean uneducated. You know what I'm saying? That's how the term gets associated. So, America's just a real twisted place, man. I just tell cats in the community to start caring. You know what I'm saying? About more than their car and their bedroom. As long as people have a nice car in their driveway and a nice, soft, comfortable bed for them to sleep in, they don't really care about what's going on with other people. And I can almost understand that. I really can. I can almost understand that. Because it's hard to keep what you got and find your position in life and maintain it. And it's got to be better than, we got to leave it better than when we found it, man. That's all I'm saying. The media's going to pinpoint things from time to time. They pinpoint rap in general. You know what I'm saying? People have to speak on what it is they need to speak on and talk about what it is they need to talk about. I'm not going to say that they're blowing it out of proportion because, they're just trying to bring attention to something that is happening. People that try to act like what's going on with Drake ain't happening, that's the whole problem. But, people can do whatever it is they want to do. It's not nobody's job to sit around and tell grown people what it is they can and can't do. They know what they're doing. It's illegal. It's not something you can just get on the street. So you already know what it is when you're getting it. So you take your chances. And, who said drugs are supposed to be good for you? You know what I'm saying? It's a drug. It's not meant to be good for you. It's just meant to feel good to you. You know what I'm saying? The media's going to do what it's going to do about different things. And, it is what it is, man. People got to speak on what they got to speak on. I can't tell nobody not to address something that they feel, they need to talk about because I'm going to address whatever it is I need to talk about. So, let them talk about what they're going to talk about. People going to stop when they feel like it. The media, may not play a part in that, but it's going to be what it's going to be.
I don't believe in turning the other cheek. I don't want no motherfucking apology at all. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. That's how I feel. Motherfucker hit me, I'm going to hit they motherfucking ass back. I'm not finna turn the other cheek. You water hose my ass down, I'm finna water hose your ass down too. You know, I mean that shit, man. And see, that's what kind of nigga I be. That's why they won't put me in no office. They won't put me in no political office. Cause I don't believe in, it ain't no get back. And you know what I'm saying? That shit that's happening right now wouldn't have been none of that shit. If you would have sent me to go meet with one of them, go meet with Saddam, that shit would have been over. I'd have went in there, man, I'd have asked him 2 or 3 questions, I'd have stood up like I was getting ready to leave and done his ass and left. He'd been sitting in that motherfucker like this. Him and Bin Laden both. But all that shit, sending all the people over there to die, send one motherfucker to die. And make sure he believe in what he dying for. Cause that's what kind of nigga I am. If I go in there to handle a nigga, you can assure it's done. So, fucking, ain't no turning the other cheek with me. If me and Imus ever get into it, we go to war, I'm gonna go have a meeting with him. And, you know, it is what it is. That motherfucker who held up that noose on CNN and said justice, I had that meeting with him. I don't want no motherfucking apology. I don't want no apology. I want some justice.
Ownership is not important. Ownership is a must. I was on a first class flight with one of the top executives at Xerox. He said something that was real powerful because we kept talking and we, you know, sort of got a kinsmanship while we were on that long flight. And he said, David Banner, I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. He said, I just met you. There's only 2 types of people on this earth. He said, slaves and slave masters. And the revolutionary in me, I wanted to get mad. I was like, this white dude, like, what you talking about, homeboy? But I've been learning to remove my ego, and I thought about it. He said, well, you can be a slave owner that releases the slaves and create other slave owners. He said, but either you are working or you're thinking. Which one are you gonna do? You have to make that choice. And that hit me, like, damn. In order for our people to truly be free, we're gonna have to have some ownership. We're gonna have to own our own existence. And that's exactly what I was telling you about. It's similar to what I was telling people about the word nigga. Everybody wanna flip the word nigga. If you, gods create, slaves deal with it. Slaves have to flip stuff and just make do. You don't have to make do. You can be creative and you can create your own situation. So I looked at it, I was like, yo, even from a political standpoint, if we own stuff, we wouldn't have to worry about people giving us jobs. We wouldn't have to worry about discrimination. We wouldn't have to worry about boycotting. Like I keep telling people, fuck boycotting, just go get your own shit. Stop being mad. They keep telling you they don't want you in their clothes, they don't want you in their establishment. Just go and get your own shit. It don't even have to be racially motivated. You don't want to be free? So like for me, we can employ our own people. We can have better products and better situations if we own our own content. You know, even from a business perspective, if you look at me, my multimedia company, I created a multimedia company that's literally competing in a world where you don't see too many black people. You don't see too many black people flourishing in advertisement, not at the level that I've been able to do it. Literally, I say this and people get mad when I say this. They said, you know, how can I learn to be a businessman and run my own business? I said, open the doors and make some fucking mistakes. Losing money will teach your ass how not to do it again. And it's really not hard. They put the stigmatism on owning, and it's so hard. It's not. Just start. And what's funny about rappers that I never got, it's like the album me and Ninth Wonder did. I'm just gonna be real. I paid 6 figures on the album. I ain't get my money back. People said they wanted hip hop. I said I wasn't gonna, you know, beg no label to support real hip hop. If I want it, I'ma pay for it. Regardless of how much money I spent on the Ninth Wonder situation, I'm my own boss. And sometimes that feeling of just being free, I can do whatever the fuck I wanna do. The only people that I have to serve to are my people and are to my fans. And I wanna look at the camera and say this: if I had you, I wouldn't need them. If we really supported our own community at the rate that black people spend money, especially, you know, as much as we're consumers, we don't export just about anything. You know, all we do is consume. But once we get it right, and again, once I told you, once we change the mentality of our people, we all right.
We need to start digging deeper and looking at things at the root versus the end result. Media has trained our minds to think in this way, but I think we focus on the end result way too much and not the root of the problem. I think we need to understand what makes a human being the way they are from the time they're born, not by the time they commit a crime. I would love to personally see more resources dedicated to single moms and children growing up in rougher neighborhoods at the beginning stages of their lives on how to educate their children, how to treat their children. I think one thing that's lacking within my own community, the ability to articulate emotion. And I think that that's something that's not taught in the inner city. From my mother's side of the family to friends and extended family, having emotions is frowned upon. And the ability to articulate those emotions are frowned upon. To say to someone, I am angry because of this, is something that is almost lacking within our community. And I think that more efforts need to be taught into teaching people to be more articulate about their emotions more than anything. Too many times I've seen within my own family, depression, sadness, resentment, all manifested in aggression. One way to express several different feelings because they haven't been taught how to express feelings. And I think that's something that's really missing within our communities.